Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. Today it's all about jobs, and more jobs. We want to get you employed. We want to make you happy. We're going to do what's right by you. Stay tuned. We are going to be coming around.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman here, and I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to No Vacancy Live today. Anthony can't be with us. He's on assignment today, but you know what? We don't need him today because today is all about you out there. It's all about helping you find jobs, you finding some financial security in your lives and pairing you up with some great companies. Now, we did this once before, and it was so successful that we said we had to do it again. So big shout out to producer Dave, who did all of this. Not only did he come up with the idea for the first one, he executed the first show. People got jobs. We decided we had to do it again. So a big shout out to producer Dave for making that happen out there. All right. Now, before we get started, I want to say a big thank you to the folks over at Best Buy who did a great ad run with us for 3 weeks, hopefully 3 months. Hopefully you guys found out how great Best Buy Hospitality is for you. Be sure to find them at bestbuy.com.hospitality. That was a freebie. That one was on me because I really appreciate their support. Also, be sure to check out Bright Support Services. If you are a hotel owner and you happen to be watching this show to find some employees, well, why not figure out how to lower the taxes that you're paying on those hotels? You made less money last year. Pay less money in property taxes this year. That's right. Book your free 30-minute consultation with Bright Support Services. They're here to help you. Find them at brightsupport.net/hotels. That's brightsupport.net/hotels, or call them at 833-411-2233 and tell them that No Vacancy sent you as well. I hope you caught our show last week on the 25th, where we had hit on showcasing an amazing new technology that is going to help you with contracting and making your properties go smoother as you are building them, constructing them. You won't believe the construction services that they offer. Check them out at hitt.com/hospitality. All right, before we get into this show, I want to thank all those folks that watched last Friday night's Friday Night Audit. That's our fun comedy show. I get to hang out, have some cocktails. Producer Dave joins in the show. We've got a great partner, Craig Sullivan, on that, who does the Click Conference. We had lots of laughs. We had designer Kay Lang on last week. Great show for you to kick off your weekend with. Hope you watch that. Also, guess what, guys? I contributed to a real, verifiable, actual book that is out right now. I'm very, very proud to make that announcement. The Adapters is out, and it's going to be a whole multi-book and audiograph series written around podcast-style interviews with gutsy genius thinkers in our industry. It's all about featuring the men and women who are engaged in our travel, tourism, and hospitality ecosystem, but it's much more than a book. It's also a video series, a podcast series, all that kind of stuff. Hey, producer Dave, man, thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. I got to tell you, I'm super excited about it. It's the first time I've contributed to a book. I'm working on some other stuff right now, but I'm really happy that we got that particular project off and out on the shelves. Please be sure to order it now. Also, last night I was on BT Talks Baseball. That was a lot of fun talking about the great city of Baltimore over there and all the things that you could do. All right, enough about plugging me. Let's talk about how we can get you jobs. So interestingly enough, we had on No Vacancy News Today last week our friend of the show, CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality, Chris Green, on, and we had an interesting conversation about the problem with labor. Who would have thought that a year into a pandemic, the hotel industry would be having a severe labor crisis as it was just 1 year ago today? Can you freaking believe that? We thought that because there were so many jobs filled, the biggest challenge was finding great people to fill over 1 million empty positions in the hospitality industry. Now, a year later, we've gone through a pandemic. Hotels are not full, but what do we still have? Lots of empty jobs. And in that conversation I had with Chris, they're trying to refill jobs right now. They're trying to get people back to work. But 1 out of 4 positions are the only ones being filled. That's right. 3 out of 4 people are not returning to their jobs. They've left the industry. They've chosen to go into other businesses, or they found somewhere else to work. That leaves lots of opportunities for people to get jobs, lots of openings for employment all around the country. And today we're going to be featuring a lot of those great companies today. The first one we have up with us today is Aimbridge, one of the biggest not one of the biggest management companies on the planet. Sorry, I think there was one out in Pluto that might be a little bit bigger. But definitely here on Earth, Brenda, the biggest management company. Thank you so much for being here. I guess the best place to start is what's going on at Aimbridge. It's great to see that you're hiring. Tell us a little bit about where you're at.
Yes, absolutely. We are hiring. Thank you so much, Glenn. And thank you to everybody who's listening in either live or later via recast. And so a little bit about Aimbridge. We are headquartered in Plano, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas. And we've been around for about 18 years now, but we've really only been on the radar for the last 4 or 5 years. We have done 4 major acquisitions over the last 5 years, which has made us, as Glenn said, the world's largest third-party manager of hotels and resorts. Right now, we have roughly 1,600 properties in 49.
That was me, by the way. I put the frog in Brenda's throat, so I apologize.
Yes. Please stop it.
I can't help it. You know what? People sabotage everyone on the show so I could look good because I need all the help I can get. Please continue.
Where was I? 1,600 properties, 49 states, 22 countries, and 70 different brands under our management. In addition to independent properties, both small and large. So
this is funny. John says Interbridge or Aim State. Very funny. little humor there. For us. All right.
I think I've heard that before.
Have you? All right. So tell us a little bit about what's going on. I see some great jobs up here.
Yes. So we are growing. We have added or are adding 120 properties in 120 days. We've got a very full pipeline, so that's not it for 2021. In addition to these jobs, right now, we also have a very, very strong need for assistant general managers, due in large part to the fact that we've promoted a lot of them to GM, but also because of the new builds and the new acquisitions that we've brought on recently.
So Brenda, let me just take this back 1 second. You said you're adding 120 properties in 120 days?
Can you believe it?
No. I mean, for some
it's true.
I'm not confused. Am I talking to Sonesta over here, who will be on a little bit later, by the way, since they're expanding so much. But where are all these coming from? Is there a big reshuffle of owners' portfolios at this point? Are there new builds? How is that sussing out for you so our viewers can understand where this is coming from?
It's a combination. So in large part, it's acquiring portfolios from ownership groups who, just want out or, need a new partner. Mm-hmm. And but we're also seeing a lot of activity in new builds as well. So some of the exciting ones, we are opening a right down the road from me here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're opening a new curio that will be coming online very shortly. So yeah, some really, really exciting new build projects. Wow.
That is exciting. Now, one of the things that we've done, you can see that email address scrolling right now, recruit.aimhosp.com. This is not just an email box that's going to take you into some sort of automated system. Real people will answer you. And that's the whole point of us doing this show, Brenda, is to make real legitimate connections for people. So don't think you're not going to get hired. Don't think people aren't going to see you. This is all about the human touch and bringing hospitality to folks that are looking for jobs. So Brenda, you said you have a lot of jobs open in the company. Besides the ones that we just saw, what kinds of jobs are available and in what parts of the country?
Well, as I said, we're in 49 states, so pretty much everywhere but Alaska. We're seeing a lot of our growth, current growth is in the West. So a lot of jobs in Arizona, a lot of jobs in California, some openings in the Pacific Northwest. We've got, a lot of growth in the Midwest. So, we are where you are, most likely.
Right. That's awesome. So Dave, could you bring up those jobs again? I want to see get people to understand the panoply of opportunities that are out there. So you had mentioned you're looking for general managers because a lot of people were promoted this time, but it looks like you're also looking at director level stuff, assistant general managers. My guess is you have jobs out there. I'm probably needing a whole host of line employees too. Is that correct?
Without question. Some of the key ones that we're looking for, we're always on the hunt for great engineers. There's several director of engineering and preventive maintenance, as well as maintenance engineer roles that are available right now. I see that you have one of our jobs in Houston. We have real density in Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, and even, some of the more rural areas of Texas, Odessa, Amarillo, Lubbock, all of those areas have great Aimbridge hotels, as well as our headquarters. So we are always on the hunt for great people with finance and accounting backgrounds for our corporate office to do the accounting for our, wonderful ownership groups.
Right. So that's an interesting thing to consider. It's not just about property level positions. It's about finding jobs within corporate headquarters around the country too. Now, Brenda, you guys are actually opening brand new corporate headquarters soon. So I'm sure that there's going to be some empty desks that need some people behind them.
We are very excited about our new headquarters office. It'll be opening next month, again, in Plano, Texas. There's about 1,000 workers in our corporate headquarters. And this is going to be a spectacular state-of-the-art building that will be rich with amenities and really a safe, very safe and comfortable place for our corporate associates to work.
So tell us a little bit about the Aimbridge culture and the type of person you're looking for. Not necessarily the skill set, because that'll change each job, but I'm sure you want some type of personality and some sort of enthusiasm.
Well, being the world's largest operator of hotels and resorts certainly has its advantages, but we are also really committed to our mission of being the best. And so what that means is that we need great people. You have to be strong to work at Aimbridge. I will say we have very high standards. We expect a lot at every level. Average just doesn't cut it in any aspect of the job. Of course, we want people who are warm and who are welcoming. Change is everything. I mean, so much is changing these days. And so people really need to be flexible, adaptable, willing to maybe go outside the traditional lines of their jobs a little bit to do what needs to be done. People who are ambitious. We look for people who want to make a difference. Team is a very, very, very big piece of our culture. One of my favorite values at Aimbridge Hospitality is think we, not me. And we live that every day. It's evident in how we communicate, in how we develop our people, and all of the systems and the tools that we provide. So those with a team mentality would do very, very well in our culture.
Right. Excellent. So I did want to say we're getting some questions from the audience that are more general. We'll get to those soon enough. But Michael Sandercock, we did have it up here saying that Aimbridge is always gets praise from the company about growth opportunities. And that's one of the advantages that you have as the world's largest. And I'm serious. I'm going to take a chance here and say the biggest one in the entire solar system. I know we were talking about before, but I think you guys are bigger. So if no matter what job you get, you can create a pathway for career success when you work with a company such as Aimbridge, correct?
I would say that is our greatest advantage, our greatest differentiator, and the best reason to join Aimbridge. If you are interested in growing your career, no matter what level you're at, we have a place for you. If you are entry level, a student maybe just getting out of school and looking, to break in, we have a place for you. If you are a seasoned leader who just hasn't had that opportunity to run multiple hotels or to move into corporate, we have a place for you. We are averaging between 6 and 7 promotions per week since the beginning of the year. Yep. And probably about 60% of those in general manager and above positions have been promoted from within. So without question, it's a place where you can move up, move across. Up isn't the only way. So if you're looking to move into, let's say, a different vertical or a different brand, we have those opportunities for you.
Right. And that's right. And Brenda mentioned that they work with hotels over 70 different brands. That gives all of you a great breadth of opportunities to find what type of property you want to work for. Maybe you like that extended stay market, which Brenda says is probably the biggest growing segment for the company as it is in the industry. Maybe you like something that's a little bit more formal. Maybe you like a regular select service hotel, but whatever it is, Aimbridge has it with you. But one question we've got from the audience here, really interesting to me, Brenda, is are you seeing a trend towards multi-property representation in sales? And what are you looking for in salespeople? And maybe you have some ideas of where you're looking.
We have such density in so many markets that it really does make sense for us if we have a strong leader in sales or really any any division or function to create those multi-property positions. So we have some dual general manager positions, dual sales, and regional sales available right now.
All right, we've got a direct question from a friend of the show, Gordon Storm. San Antonio is the fastest growing city in the nation, he says. I can't confirm that, although it's a great town. Any Aimbridge properties there? Lodging is within his responsibilities, but he's about to retire. Does former military fit well into your organization? I think that's a great question.
That is. In fact, we are partnering with Military Recruit to participate in some of their upcoming job fairs. There's quite a few events, hiring events, focused on military veterans that are happening this spring, and Aimbridge will be a part of it. And to answer your question about San Antonio, the answer is yes, we are in San Antonio, and I believe we have a new acquisition coming up. If you send me an email directly to recruiting@aimhosp.com, I'll be sure to let you know about that. And you can also search on our website. If you go to aimbridgehospitality.com/careers, you can search by location and you'll see San Antonio, Texas listed.
Excellent. I love that. Last question before we let you go. Do you hire people with public administration degree, MPA? I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. We certainly like degreed people. Hospitality is, if you're warm and you're welcoming and, you have a personal drive to succeed, you can succeed in the hospitality business. And at Aimbridge in particular, I think we're very open to hiring people with diverse backgrounds. It just makes for a better team and a better company.
It sure does. All right, I got one more final question for you. This year's been difficult on everybody, so it makes sense that people may be wanting to reevaluate their careers. People left the hotel industry. People want to go into the hotel industry. Are you thinking any differently about people this year than you did a year ago when it comes to what their resumes might look like because people have been sitting on the sidelines or are trying to make big moves with their lives on a personal basis now?
Yes, I think it's really common to see resumes that are maybe a little more choppy than they once were. And at Aimbridge, we like to say, stop the chop at Aimbridge. Because it is a place where no matter where you are in the career cycle, you can finish out your career with Aimbridge.
Excellent. I love it. Brenda, final thoughts from you before we let you go.
Again, aimbridgehospitality.com/careers and recruiting@aimbridge.com.
I guess that does it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Brenda,
okay.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Great care. All right, everybody. So that's one down. We got a number of companies still to go. Today's going to be a supersized edition of No Vacancy Live with me, Glenn Hausman, and without our dear friend, Anthony Melchiori. Don't feel bad for him. He's out in California looking at that hotel that he's going to be helping to create. So we're going to have a lot of great conversations about that over the coming years. Dave, I'm not sure who we have next up. If you could let me know backstage, that'd be awesome. But while we are getting set for that, I think it's really important to bring up this one comment that came here from Mr. Richard Majewski. He's in London. And yes, Richard, you're right. We are focusing mostly on the United States and maybe some Canada as well. And I will mention Hugs on LinkedIn for people looking for jobs in the UK. We want to get everybody employed, no matter where you are. So, Richard, if you could provide us some more information in the chat box about specifically how to find that, I will make sure to promote it. All right, Dave, who do we got up next, please? Let's do that. Lori is next. All right, let's bring in Lori. Lori,
good morning.
Resorts World, Las Vegas. Now, before we get started, Lori's going to be back tomorrow for the second half of the show, but we're also featuring the president of Resorts World, Las Vegas tomorrow, Scott Sabella, an interview. I'm super excited about. This project has been something, Lori, that I have been looking forward to for years and years. And, and it's almost here.
It's almost here.
Now, we don't know the exact opening date because things are so complex when it comes to opening up a multi-billion-dollar casino resort. But I think it's fair to say you're looking at summer. And I think it's fair to say that with a brand new hotel, you probably have a few jobs to fill.
We do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we will be opening this summer. And like you said, that's not that far away. Time is moving really fast. We have roughly 6,000 jobs to fill here in beautiful Las Vegas. So that's a few for you. And then with our partners, it'll be total of about 7,500 jobs.
Wow. That is unbelievable. And when she says partners, she's referring to all the retail and the restaurants that are going to be coming. I've seen a couple of announcements slip. I'm not going to share what those are, but if you find some stuff on the web, you might be able to find those too. But Lori, 6,000 jobs. How do you go about filling those types of jobs? And go through some of the things that we're looking for at here right now.
Sure. So when you're dealing with a mega resort size, so we're dealing, roughly 3,500 rooms in one hotel or resort, there's a variety of jobs that are available. We are looking for attitude and aptitude. That's the most important thing because you really can't kind of train that. You can train skills, but the best attitude and the right attitude, that's something that you have. And with our applications, we anticipate this week we're going to hit 100,000 applications.
Wow.
So things are really going great. We've had around 600,000 people hit our website, and that is literally growing every single day. And we're really thrilled with the talent that we're seeing and the interest in Resorts World.
Now, if I was a young person starting out my career, and there was a time, believe it or not, I was young before all this gray hair settled in and stuff. And I got to tell you, I was not very confident. I was really insecure in myself and my ability to put in that kind of a situation. I hear 100,000 people applying. That freaks me out for only 6,000 jobs. What could I do, or what can the folks watching do to make sure that they shine enough that you really take a look at them and they have a pretty good shot of getting a job?
That's such a good question. And our process, partly with the whole COVID, we have been part of the paradigm shift in the way hiring is done, especially such a large scale, that you as an applicant will fill out your application. We do have a cultural assessment, and then you are going to be able to bring your resume to life with a video interview. So that's your chance. That's your chance to put your best foot forward, to really show us who you are, show your enthusiasm and interest in the role in the company so you can shine. And that is just really the best opportunity that you have, is instead of just an application, just the black and white on paper, we're going to see your energy and see your enthusiasm and see your personality.
Right. Laura, we got a great question here. We know that you're going to have multiple properties in there, including a Conrad and a Hilton. Is that fall under the same employment job getting structure over there? Not
it does.
I think you understood.
Yes. So we are a franchise of Hilton. That is our partner. And all of those jobs are listed on www.rwlvcareers.com. And you will see all of those 6,000 jobs.
Wow. All right. So be sure to check out rwlasvegas.com or careers.rwlasvegas.com. See all the open positions that are out there. Is it helpful if you worked at one of the other buildings in town, or is it pretty cool if somebody wants to just come to Vegas and start anew?
Yes, to both of those questions. So, you don't necessarily need hotel experience. There's so many jobs in this industry that we can train, and that's a beautiful thing. So, like I said before, if you have the right attitude and aptitude, we can teach you how to use a computer system. We can teach you how to give change. We can teach you how to greet the guest. That's really easy. So really, it is about individuals who have that hospitality in their heart and really want to take care of our guests in the way that we know that they deserve, and they should be taken care of. We're the first resort opening since 2010, so the city's been very hungry for something new, and we're about to hit the street.
Since 2010, would that be?
Yeah.
I think that was Cosmopolitan.
It was, yes, it was.
I can't believe it's been 10 years since last open. That is just shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprising, yet shocking at the same time. So there's a lot of pent up demand for people to maybe start their careers with a new company. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Resorts World, they have, I think, on a per slot machine basis, your property in Aqueduct is the most successful one in the country in terms of revenue, which is absolutely incredible. And we were up at Resorts World in the Catskills in Monticello just a couple of few weeks ago. Lori, my fingers crossed. I can't wait to be with you down there this summer for the opening. That's going to be fantastic. So if you have experience in one particular track and you want to kind of change things, is that something that's possible when applying for a job, or should you just try to stick with what you know and then maybe try to get a promotion or a change of jobs later on if you can get in with the Resorts World family?
Yeah, and that's such a good point. So one thing I think that people don't understand when they're applying, and sometimes they get frustrated when they don't get called for an interview or don't get the job, this is competition that's invisible. So it's a very, very tough competition in all organizations these days with the unemployment rates. So you are competing against people that you can't see what they bring to the table. So the best chance you have is to go in for something where you not only meet, but you exceed those expectations. And then once you get into an organization, especially an organization like Resorts World, your growth and development opportunity is endless.
Right. And that's what's really important. It's about getting a foot in the door, getting a job, and then being amazing so you cannot be overlooked and you get to continue to have lots of opportunities in the future. So you're dealing with all of this invisibility that's out there. You just don't know. How does somebody make themselves look as good as possible? Because I think, again, I can only think back to my experience about how I handled things. And there are certain things that I may have said, well, that's so obvious, I shouldn't put it down in my resume. But maybe it wasn't so obvious, and maybe I should. How do you advise people to really tell their story so you can understand it very clearly?
Yeah, and I think when you start to use the word "I assumed" or "assume," that's the first mistake, right?
That's right.
If you're coming from I mean, if you're coming from a different industry, don't assume that the language is understood because it could be lingo or something that you know, but it doesn't translate. Another thing for military applicants, and we have an initiative called Honor. If you are listing things that are terms from the military, you often find that employers don't understand those things. So you really want to spell it out and be able to translate that into the industry so it is understood. And no matter what you do, make sure you're prepared and you put your best foot forward. And that includes the way you fill out the application.
Right. And that means attention to detail and stuff like that.
Yes.
That can be really hard. And I know, Lori, I've not been the best in my life at attention to detail, right? So if you're filling out all of these forms, maybe get someone you trust to just take a look at it. Ask them to be honest with you and say, hey, am I putting up my best foot forward, or have I made some sort of foolish typo that's going to make me look bad, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing is that, practice your interviewing. I think we all think it's just a conversation, but you really want to be able to convey the message that you're trying to share in a short period of time. And our interviews are video interviews. And I think you're going to find a lot of employers with the onset of COVID and then finding that that's really a very effective and functional tool to use both for the applicant and for the department leaders. So really practice that. So you really have those skills kind of honed in. And for some folks that are unemployed right now, they haven't interviewed in a very long time. Right.
So that's scary for somebody that may not do what I do here every day. Online. How do you consider the learning curve for people that might not be good on a video interview? And could you give us a couple of tips on what people can do to shine through this medium that's not face-to-face in reality?
Sure. And that is something that people have to adjust to. But when we tell them, depending on whatever the classification or the level or age of the applicant, it's very much like talking to a family member on FaceTime or through Facebook. The key is to make sure that you take the time to understand the technology. I have the rule that if you're on time, you're late. So you always want to make sure that you're well planned, log in, get ready, and really think about what you're going to say. I think once it started, we have a lot of really, really positive feedback from applicants that they really enjoyed it and found that it was a great way to be able to connect and still stay safe in these times. And the other thing that's really beautiful about Resorts World opening and being built now is we have the luxury to implement all of these safety type of measures and tools that older resorts didn't have just because it wasn't part of the times.
Right. So that must be interesting. So it took a little while to get this resort going, but it wound up probably working to your advantage for being able to create a different type of flow within the building. Now, I'm not going to ask her any more questions about that because you have to tune in tomorrow. And Scott Sabella is on the show as well to learn all about this incredible project that I've been watching since another company started it back in 2004 or 5 or something like that.
Right.
So I can't wait. I cannot wait. I am going to be like such a giddy little boy tomorrow on that interview because I'm so excited about this as well. Any final thoughts, pieces of advice, any insights you could give us? For example, we got one question. Are all jobs based in Las Vegas, or are there any remote positions? Maybe there's something with sales, for example, that doesn't have to be there.
So these positions are primarily based in Las Vegas. We do have some sales positions that are in other states to really kind of stir up the interest in the sales and in rooms and such here in Las Vegas. But Resorts World has resorts all over the world. So not just in the Americas within the United States, but all over the world. There's so many resorts. Cruise lines, all kinds of different industries within that portfolio. So if you look at our parent company, Genting, you might find additional opportunities that may be of interest.
That's right. And I've said this before on the show, Genting has been around for a long time around the world. You really cut your teeth in Asia, and coming to America, it may seem like it's a new company, but no, they've been around for a long time and have amazing properties around the world. Lori, how about giving us one more shout out on how people could apply for a position at Resorts World Las Vegas or any of your other locations around the world?
Sure. So, for Resorts World Las Vegas, it's rwlvcareers.com, or you can just go to the main Resorts World Las Vegas page, which is also a great idea just to learn more about the property and what it will have to offer. But, don't be intimidated and don't delay. Apply today so we can make sure we get a chance to look at your application.
Right. Lori, I got breaking news. I'm supposed to ask you one more question. Producer Dave is really on top of things here. Because COVID affected areas differently, lots of people are relocating. Are you offering relocation services?
There is relocation for certain levels of positions, but to be honest with you, with the applicant pool that we have, there really is an ample supply of very qualified people here in the market, or those that are moving here to Las Vegas. But I think as a city, this is really just a very well-rounded place to live. We don't get snow, and we have a lot of really great people that have come here to live, and we have a great melting pot.
Right. I remember there was once a snow in Vegas,
right.
And it's like a quarter of an inch, and it shut the airport down.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Kind of embarrassing too.
What are you going to do? You're not going to have snow removal in the desert.
No, definitely not.
Lori, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks. And we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Take care. All right. So also I wanted to mention, since we're talking relocation services, that Aimbridge is also offering relocation for certain positions that are out there. Not all positions, but certain positions. But that doesn't mean You can't just move to a place yourself and try to get a job there. So don't only think that you can that you need a job to go to a city. Maybe you need to take that chance. Maybe you could do whatever. Maybe it's worth the expense to get a job in Vegas. Now, we got a question here from Red Edwards. What's the pay per hour? That's nearly an impossible question to answer, Red. It's not that we don't want to answer that question. So there's so many different jobs, so many different responsibilities that it's not necessarily uniform how much people pay. But we try to make sure that all the companies that are here pay fair wages to all their people at all different sides of the conversation. Now, stay tuned, because not only do we have a lot of great people that are offering real jobs, but we're going to have on at the end Mr. Mark Galvin, who's going to teach you how to make your LinkedIn profile shine. That's more important than ever these days. You know that people are taking a look at what you're doing online, right? You know it, because if you're applying for a job, they got to figure out who you are as a human being. Social is the way to do it. So how are you going to best present yourself? Mark Galvin is going to do that with us. All right. Now we've got Shelley Weir from the AHLA Foundation joining us again. Shelley, you were so great with that first show that we had. Thanks so much for returning.
My pleasure. Are you doing well, Glenn?
Well, now that you're here, I am. I was a little sad around 10 this morning, but then I said, I'm going to get to see Shelley.
That's sweet. Hey, Glenn.
All right. So, Shelley, what are you here to share with us today? What kind of great tips and advice do you have for us?
So happy to obviously answer any questions, but did want to have the podcast universe be some of the first to know that we are actually launching this month at our foundation a brand new hiring portal that we have built custom with H Careers to help folks both get jobs and also help employers be able to find quality candidates to source the jobs that they have open, like so many of our members that are talking through today. So you can see a sample here on the screen, but most notably, this is really targeted towards our young adults, our youth audience that are looking for entry-level positions in the industry. So not only can they go on this site to create their online resume, but they can also do things like exploring the career pathways that are available for several different entry-level positions in the sector, so that they can visualize and understand, hey, if I start as a front desk agent, where can I go from here? You can see a sample career pathway here for our front desk associates. You can also see what some of the skills and responsibilities will be for those particular positions, so that you can cross-reference against what you currently have or don't have. And you can also click and see which jobs are open for that particular position in the area in which you live and work and reside, or want to live and work and reside as well. And all of this is built with fully functional back-end universe on the H Careers platform, fully up to date as well.
Careers has been around for decades at this point. Yes.
Yeah.
So they're a great organization to partner with. I highly recommend you checking out this particular portal. Shelley, please continue.
No, thanks, Glenn. I was just going to add that for our employers that are listening in as well, especially Brenda, Derek, and some of the others that are joining the podcast today, we also have an employer link where they can actually go and see all of the different, right there at the top, David, there you go. They can see all of the different community-based training organizations that we are working with to help train the future workforce for the hotel industry. So if Aimbridge is opening up a new property in Dallas, they can click onto our Dallas network and get directly connected to community organizations and schools that are training folks for hotel jobs. We've loaded it with an initial 50 community partners right now. There you go, David, keep scrolling. And we'll be adding more throughout the year and months ahead as we start to recover from COVID.
That is excellent. And we've been featuring students on our show recently, and this is exactly the type of thing, perfect resource for those types of individuals. Shelley, being that you were at the foundation, at the beginning of the show, I had mentioned that one company, Chesapeake Hospitality, is finding that they need to fill a lot of jobs. They tried to retain as many people as they can during this dark period that we've been going through. But now that the light is starting to shine again on hospitality, they can't fill those positions. Is this a story that you're seeing across the country? And if so, what would you say to people who want to get out there that may have been discouraged a little bit in this last 7, 8, 9 months?
No, I think it's a great question. And certainly there are certain cities and pockets of the country that are not yet starting that rehiring and that recovery rebound, in particular.
Right.
Some of the
New
more
York City proper might not be the best opportunity, but that doesn't mean upstate New York doesn't have great opportunity.
That's exactly right. I myself am based in Florida, and I'm constantly hearing from our Florida hoteliers that they are back to, full occupancy, especially along the beaches, that are looking for staff and people to refill those positions that they had to downshift last year. So from my perspective now, it's sort of, when would be a better time than now to come into the industry? There's a full buffet of offerings, of types of jobs, of types of hotels, of cities to live and work in. And I love what Brenda from Aimbridge said earlier about the upward mobility track. I mean, you're in a place right now where you can move up faster in your career than ever before. If they're looking for AGMs all over the country as they're adding 100 plus properties at the moment, what better time than to come back into the industry now and be able to get into those advanced positions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a great thing. And I love positing the positivity on here, because we talk about this. For those of you who watch our show regularly, that we talk about, we're about to hit a period of what we believe is going to be unbridled potential for the hospitality industry, for you, for your careers. And for those of you that are watching us for the first time, listen to what Shelly is saying here. Now is the opportunity. It may seem like it's not, but everything that we're seeing, Shelly, is all aligning to that perfect storm of creating great opportunities for people that are out there. So a question for you, your partnership with H Careers, if people are going on to that site, is there a cost for candidates or employers to participate in that?
Great question. There is not. There's no cost for job seekers to create their resume, to use the tool. It's completely public and available right now for use. For employers, most of the site is also completely cost-free. The only cost would be if you actually choose to post a job on the H Careers site that's linking on the back end there, then of course you would do that just as you normally would with H Careers.
That makes sense because they're providing the service. They have to make money. But listen, if you're out of work, you don't have the money. So that's probably what's really helpful. And it's a free service to you. What advice would you have then for people that are first coming into this marketplace so they can stand out against all of the competitors that are out there? We spoke with Lori about what you could do if you're already in it, but what if you've never been in our business before?
Well, first and foremost, I think you have to show a spirit of hospitality, a desire to get into this particular sector. And so I love the idea of these video interviews. And even if you're doing an online resume or a paper-based resume, whatever the sort of methodology is that you're using, you've got to get across to employers that you have that spirit of hospitality. Because ultimately, as you've heard them say on the podcast today, they are hiring for culture and for personality. We can teach you the skills once you get into the job, but we need to see that this is a long-term investment on your part, that you're not going to come into the industry and then leave us a few months later, that you're really invested in this for the long haul, and that you've got that spirit of giving and spirit of hospitality.
So if I've never had a real job before, I'm just graduating with college, how do I get the person who's interviewing me to know, I'm dedicated, I am here for the long haul, without there being any interpretation to that whatsoever?
For me, I think of two things. First and foremost, I think it's always important to know a little bit about the company that you're interviewing with. Mm-hmm. If you're going to interview with Aimbridge, for example, the fact that you tuned into today's podcast and can speak intelligently about the fact that they're adding 120 properties in 120 days, that's good feedback for you to have and knowledge when you're in that interview, that you are researching the company and that you know a little bit about them to be able to speak intelligently about the role that you're applying for. I know Sonesta is coming on next, my good friend Derek, and he's going to have similar really staggering numbers to speak about. The second thing I would say is don't be afraid to point to your own life experiences and how those translate into the hospitality world. So, if you are the oldest child and you've helped to take care of your 2 or 3 younger siblings, how does that translate into your ability to multitask and have responsibility and have good work ethic? You've got to show the recruiters that even if you don't have specific industry experience, that you do have life experience and that those things will come to life when you get your first job.
Right. And listen, before you have your first job, you haven't had a job. So don't be embarrassed.
Exactly.
There is no shame in it. We all have to start somewhere. And Shelley, one of the things that I thought on earlier in my career is that, I was at it alone, that everybody didn't have that shared experience that we all had. What kind of advice could you give for somebody who's looking for that first job that may not have a lot of experience with doing these types of interviews in order to put their best foot forward to the hiring person?
It's so funny. I think sometimes it's the simple things. It's not complicated, but if you're going to work in hospitality, come to the interview with a smile on your face, right? I can't tell you how many times I've talked to our HR leaders and they're interviewing a candidate that's not showing any emotion or not smiling. You're not going to give off that you actually are fit to be in hospitality without that type of energy and smile. But I'd also say, you want to be proactive in your approach and reaching out to the employer, and equally you want to be promptly reacting to their outreach to you. So if you hear back from an employer, whether it's via email, phone, text message, whatever the case may be, that they're interested in scheduling an interview with you, get back to them quickly, because with the way unemployment is right now, they are not going to give you very long to say, yes, I'm interested. They're going to move on to the next. And it always surprises me how many times I hear from our members that candidates kind of ghost them a bit, where they disappear and then they circle back around a week or two later. And by that point, the opportunity has left.
It's funny because a week or two never even occurred to me. My next question to you was, do you have to respond quicker in different scenarios? For example, text messaging versus email. I would never think to wait a week, but I would think if someone texts me, I got to get back to them within a few hours. But if it's an email, it might be 24 hours. How does that kind of work today?
I think it's probably dependent on each recruiter's personal preference. My own personal recommendation is no matter what the vehicle of the outreach is, you need to respond within 24 hours. That's just good business practice. If you're not interested anymore, let them know so that they can move on to the next candidate and not waste their time or your time any further.
I think that's really great advice. Don't waste other people's time. Show up, be present. Don't sell yourself short at the same time. You may not have experience, but you have the right qualities in order to get your foot in the door. Right, Shelley?
Exactly. It's really, again, we hire for personality. So anything you can do to showcase your personality, your desire to be in the industry, and what makes this industry exciting to you is going to go a long way.
Right. Now, I know we talked about this on the last show, but if you could just quickly share with us any courses that you might have available to help empower people. And of course, if you want the longer answer, go check out our last empowerment show.
Absolutely. So part of our mission at the foundation is to help empower the industry's workforce. And so as part of that, both in a COVID and a non-COVID world, we give out quite a bit of scholarship funding every year. So for those that are job seekers or current employees looking to move up in the industry, I encourage you to go to our website, ahlafoundation.org, and apply for one of our certification scholarships, whether you're looking for an entry-level, front desk agent job, or looking to get into those general manager positions. We have a suite of industry certifications offered by AHLA that our foundation will cover the cost of for you through that scholarship fund.
Excellent. Any final words, Shelley?
That's it. I just appreciate you guys having me back on again, and exciting to see all of the momentum that's building towards recovery and the rehiring process beginning. So be safe and be well. And thanks always to you, Glenn and Anthony and David, for your work on this podcast.
So much. I can't wait to go somewhere, maybe Florida, and get to hang out with you one day. That'd be awesome.
Sounds great. Thanks again, team. Talk to you soon.
Be good. All right. So listen, I think that last segment made it that made Shelley's case perfectly. Look how present she was. Look at how she was smiling. You need to do those same things in order to be successful. The other thing you can need to do, hey, check out what Gutsy Genius Thinkers are doing and get the book, The Adapters, that I collaborated on, written by Sean Worker, collaborating out with me. We got so many great interviews on there, talking to the top people in the hospitality industry. Do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Go to Amazon right now. Type in Adapters and Hospitality. Get the book. It's worth it. You get the Kindle version. Ain't that much money. Now let's bring on Mr. Derek Fournier. Is it Fournier? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Well, if my grandparents were here, they'd be Fournier. Fournier is probably the one thing I hear more. So yeah.
All right.
So how are you?
Whether or not I'm for near or far, I'm just welcoming you to the show over here. Dave, I hope that dad joke worked for you back there. All right. Anyway, welcome to the show, Derek. Now, out of all the companies that we're showcasing today, none is expanding as rapidly and as wildly as Sonesta is. We don't need to get into the reasons behind that now. You can check all of that stuff at the stories out at novacancynews.com to learn what is going on. But you're adding so many hotels to the system right now, and you need to make sure that you have adequate people in your hotel. So what is the overall status of people and jobs at Sonesta?
Yeah, I mean, so as you said, obviously this is a wildly incredible time for Sonesta, and we've got a lot of roles as we are expanding. It's funny, when Brenda was talking about 120 locations in 120 days, we just did, more than that in the past 90 days. And so it's interesting, 75% of the people who work for Sonesta right now didn't work for Sonesta 90 days ago. And so, yeah, it's really unbelievable. But when you have that kind of growth, it means that you need to add. And so we are clearly in search of the best talent who wants to succeed and help us win in the future. And so, we are actively recruiting, hundreds of roles at all levels, as, was indicated earlier, is that, we have needs. A lot of the locations that we have that are in, tourist destinations. We got Hilton Head in Florida and California, and a lot of these places that are really starting to ramp up now. And so we're looking for that. And then also, we do have GM positions and assistant general manager positions. If you want to work in Seattle, we got jobs there. If you want to work in Boston, we got plenty of jobs out here. So it's really all over the place.
Wow. That is absolutely incredible. So there's so many opportunities out there. I mean, limitless. Somebody put up that there's over 800 jobs that are available right now on the web.
I was looking this morning, and it was just over 800 roles that are posted on our website. And again, it is all levels of those roles. There's a lot of corporate office roles. You were talking about office space. I don't know, I'm probably going to end up sharing my office with a couple other people here soon because we're hiring so many people.
Wow.
So, if you're in revenue management, I think we have over 50 sales roles that are available right now. I was looking at the chat earlier. Someone was saying things are tight in Chicago. I know that that's one of the areas that we've just gotten a whole bunch of new properties. And so I think that I looked real quick, and, there's some opportunities all over.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So because you're adding so many people right now, we just mentioned the 800 jobs. It's a lot different. Some of the other companies that have fewer opportunities. How can people break through the din to be paid attention to when you are dealing with such volume that, it's got to be, all of us would be overwhelmed by it. So how can people get through, and personally, Derek, how are you doing? How are you handling all of this?
Well, I mean, my hairline used to be right here about 3 months ago. So yeah, it's amazing what's happened over the
hotel that's added. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah. So, for anybody, and Shelley was talking about this earlier, it really is about how you present yourself, and breaking through really means showing that you're committed to being successful. That's what we are. We're committed to being the best hotel company in the world. And so if you are committed to yourself and your brand, then you're going to be successful here. you also, I mean, we have this wonderful thing where we have this great history, but we also have this incredible growth in recent paths. So, we have a little bit of everything. And, I kind of like to think of us as, the littlest big company in the world too. It's funny, our email addresses. So, I joined about a year ago, and it was D. Fournier. Well, we had to quickly go to, first and last name email addresses, because suddenly there would have been, all kinds of people with the same email address. So it is a time for exciting growth here at Sonesta. And so if you're looking to get into a company that's growing and looking towards the future, we've got a tremendous amount of opportunity.
And what about career path with Sonesta?
Yeah, I mean, so all the time, people are moving either locations. Obviously, now we have a lot more locations, so opportunity has abound itself for people to move physically, but also within their roles. We've had a lot of people who had opportunities in one department and now have expanded to other departments. People who are coming into the corporate office from our hotels. People who are moving up here, obviously, and then we're also bringing in a lot of talent from the outside too to help us with this growth. So,
Derek, the one thing that I don't get is that most of the hotels that you're bringing into the system right now, they existed, they just were under different brands, and there were human beings that were working in those hotels. What is the cause for you needing to fill all those positions if you had people there? Perhaps you're just ramping up because we're heading into the post-COVID era potentially, or maybe some people left. How's that all working out so people can understand what's going on with the company a little more?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of a bunch of things. I think as you talked about, which is why it's great you're doing this, is that some people have selected to leave the industry, and that's a shame, right? Because we've spent a whole lot of time and resources to groom these people, and so there's a certain amount of people who have left the industry. There's a certain amount of people who decided to not come over, stay with their current brands. So there's some opportunity there. And then, as you also indicated, things are getting a lot better in a lot of our areas. And so as we start to bring a lot of these hotels on, we want to make sure that they are poised not only for today, but also for the future. And so we're adding those positions to make sure that they are successful now that they're under Sonesta's brand.
And additionally, now I'm just guessing here, but as things start to come back, and more people are staying in hotels, there'll probably be even more jobs that will be created as more revenue comes, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, no surprise to anybody here is that, a lot of the business travel and things like that is still, relatively depressed. And that will add a whole nother thing, once we start getting back to the conventions. And, we have a lot of large hotels and destination cities. And so we'll be growing like that even more.
What is a good piece of advice that you could give somebody to shine when they do an interview with you guys, as opposed to what we've heard before? We already know you got to bring it, you got to be present and all of that. But what are some of the things that they could say that'll get you to be like, I need to consider this human being a little bit more?
Yeah, as people were talking earlier, a couple of things that, the video interviews and things like that does make it a little bit more difficult. And so I was just thinking, I once heard this phrase, everything speaks, right? And so it's even like little things like I took everything off of my little board here knowing I was going to be on today because I didn't want, my kids' doodles and stuff behind me. And so just knowing that everything that
you just said it's a Picasso and everybody.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. So, so everything you do speaks. And I think that talking about people and having that kind of connection that you care about people and mentioning about how that works into your life, I think that those are things that really set you apart. And, for the in-person thing, it was funny, Shelley was saying, about bringing a smile, and now all of us with our masks on, your eyes have to speak more than ever in person now.
Yes, I've been learning to smile with my eyes. Any tips that you have with
that?
Well, the eyebrows, you got to go somewhere, but you don't want to go too much because then it's creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Anything else that you want to say, Derek?
No, I mean, just again, it's a great time to join Sonesta. Not only have we bringing these hotels, we've actually created 2 new brands for the Sonesta all within the last 90 days.
Days ago, right?
Yeah. And so it's an unbelievable time. And if you're looking to join someplace that, we talk about our culture of caring and, people that care about other people who really want to succeed and who want to win, then we'd love to have you.
Excellent. I want to thank you so much for being here, Derek. So Sonesta Hotels, company on the move. Congratulations to you and Carlos, entire team over there. It's an amazing thing to see. That's what's happening with you guys.
Yeah, Sonesta.com careers. You can go see those 800 jobs.
Great. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate you. So one of the things that we were talking about is how to present yourself best on video. And you know what? I do this every day. I've learned a couple of things about how to present yourself on video. You need to look directly into the camera. See what I'm doing right now? I'm looking right at you. If I'm looking at the person on the screen, I'm not really looking at you. You're not making that valuable eye contact. You're losing out on opportunity. You're losing out on the ability to reach through that screen and make the human connection. The other thing that you should be thinking about is not only the way you dress, but how you present yourself. When you're in this video medium, when you're in an audio interview, everything has to be a little bit larger than life to compensate for not being in the room. I don't mean be as nutso as I am right now, but whatever your normal level is, how you present yourself as a person, when you're on video screens, you got to amp it up a little bit to compensate. For some reason, I don't know why, stuff kind of gets lost a little bit. Everything gets tamped down a little bit. The words come out a little bit quieter. The vibe seems to be a little lessened. So you got to raise it up a little bit, look directly at the camera and speak very succinctly and clearly. All right. So that's my tip of the moment. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Yes, good lighting is important as well. You need to do all of the favors for yourself. Don't have a lot of that clutter behind you. Think about all of these things. And we'll ask Mark Galvin when he comes up if he has any more of those solutions as well. All right. Now, I'm very, very honored to bring on the folks from Salamander, Trish Blanco and Lara Gentry. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon, Glenn.
I'm a little bit of a sucker for Salamander. I mean, I love hotels. I love the company. The culture there is fantastic. And when we had on Sheila Johnson on the podcast a couple of years ago, when Anthony and I were doing Checking In as an audio only version, I just thought she was the most amazing person, giving back to people, helping people. And I get a sense that there's a great culture within that company, one that really, truly espouses empowerment, one that really gives opportunities to success. And I also don't want to leave out Prem, who's I've known for a long time. He's a great president over there as well. So, Trish, why don't we start with you?
Sure, absolutely. I'm actually the HR director at Innisbrook Resort in Palm Harbor, Florida. But we are all part of the Salamander family. So we're not as big, we don't have all these properties like Aimbridge and Sonesta, and they're so big and wonderful, but we have such a big heart. And
pretty awesome. So don't let them know.
So,
luxury and awesomeness all around. And I should say that each property has their own hiring manager, which is why we have both Trish and Lara on today. Please continue.
Yes, we do. And actually, we as HRDs work very closely with one another. We communicate on almost a daily basis. So with this being said, we don't have a program in our recruitment platform that whittles everyone out just because they don't have a keyword. We actually look at every resume that comes through, whether it's us here in HR or specifically the hiring managers in individual departments.
Right.
And, we're always looking out for one another. So if we get a resume that maybe doesn't work perfectly for this specific position, we will pass along to another department or to another property of, I know you're looking for a such and such. Here you go. Right. So it's part of our culture. We're always looking out for one another, and here at the individual property level and throughout the whole Salamander family.
Right. And Lara, you're over at the Henderson?
I'm at the Henderson in Destin, Florida. And Shelley is absolutely right when she said Florida is open for business and very, very busy. Obviously I think people think of Destin as a smaller town and a smaller place to maybe work in a luxury environment. But quite frankly, Florida has been really successful with the drive market in this new version of our of our business.
Yeah.
And we are, in the very, very lucky to be incredibly busy, and we're busy almost all of last year as well, for just on that short time on the leisure side. So yeah, definitely. I think maybe considering a destination that you might not have thought of from a standpoint to call home. It definitely opens us up.
I think that's a great point there, Laura, because look, we all know that things are changing. We were talking about earlier the challenges of the inner cities, the urban areas. So think about those drive-to markets and how there's kind of a reshuffling of things that are going on. Now, I want every hotel out there to succeed, but we are definitely in a period of the haves or have-nots. It's just that the formula seems to have switched. Which are the haves and which are the have-nots? And it may not be a permanent state of affairs, but it is definitely going to be that for the next couple of 3 years as events try to pick themselves up, as business travel is a little bit more suppressed over the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens. Trish, what are you guys? Lara just said you've been doing really, really well. What type of occupancy are you running, and how is that leading you to need to expand to new jobs?
So each one of our properties is very different. Here at Innisbrook, we're a golf resort. We're known. We have our Valspar PGA tournament here every year, and people love to come here and play the Copperhead on our other 3 courses. So golf really maintains us year round, and especially during the pandemic, it was huge for us. So with the golf comes the rooms and the food and beverage and all of that. And each one of our properties, again, Laura at the Henderson, she's right on the beach. So everyone wants to come down to the beach, right? So Hotel Bennett right in Charleston, they stay very busy. Charleston is booming, and it always it's been growing over these years. So it's still doing very wonderfully. And then of course, can't forget about our Salamander resort in Virginia, which is equestrian based, but absolutely beautiful and a good step away from Washington, D.C. So people get to step away from that city and have that vibe.
I know it's a great hotel because I drove by it once and they wouldn't actually allow me on the property. So that's how you know.
Busy. Make that reservation.
No, I really want to get over there at some point. It is just such a great property. And, I've been able to see the property. I've never actually had the chance to stay there. But, one of the things that I think people are concerned with out there, I'm just guessing, luxury hotel. I feel like most people may not feel that they could fit into the luxury environment. What would you say to people, and how could they best present themselves so they can transmit to you that, hey, I may have worked at XYZ Select Service Hotel, but I've got what it takes to work in a luxury hotel environment? Laura?
And it's been said time and time again in just this podcast alone.
We got
it's culture, it's attitude, it's bringing the best version of yourself, and those are translatable from many different industries, not just the different parts of our industry. Correct? We have, the luxury segment, absolutely, but there are many, many people who might not have grown up in the luxury segment that have that right spark and that attitude and that service hospitality that we're all looking for. From that standpoint. So, I always tell people, don't be afraid that you don't have the right kind of experience, because we're definitely going to match your character and your culture first. And then the rest of it, we'll see what we can do. We can definitely find experience that matches.
Trish?
Absolutely. I was just going to add to that. Hospitality is a way of life. And a lot of people don't see necessarily how that translates into their resume or their past experience. And it's one of those things you can highlight in your everyday experiences, whether you have that experience in luxury properties or otherwise. Yes, we're luxury, but we're fun. We have a lot of fun at our different properties, and no matter what, you can find a property that is a right fit for you within Salamander.
Fun, because I think a lot of people say luxury equals stuffy, right?
Oh no, not with Salamander.
I think luxury is much more accessible than it used to be.
Yes, absolutely.
What is it that people are looking for in a luxury experience, and how does that match up with the type of people you want working there?
From our standpoint here at our Destin property, we're getting, all of our market is dry market, and we're getting so many more families. So I think having, the staff that is ready for that leisure traffic and that leisure pace, and you're having so much more activities for kids on property, and changing the way that we're doing those from a standpoint of our services. We just have to be, ready to shift. And we have to be nimble. And I think we have to be nimble as recruiters, and we have to be nimble as applicants as well, to make sure that we shift as we need to.
Right. So how are you doing interviews these days? We have a lot of people saying that they're doing interviews remotely. Are you doing them remotely, in person, or kind of a hybrid, a little of both?
Most of ours are in person. We do have our protocols set up that we have the ability to do that here from a space standpoint. But we have done some remote as well. We did a great hospitality virtual job fair with the Florida State University hospitality students regarding summer internship opportunities, that kind of thing. So we are definitely doing a mixture of both.
Trish, you too?
Yes, absolutely. So especially if someone's not in the area, we always offer to do virtual, but it's just based on everybody's comfort level. We've had to do virtual before because people were quarantining and we didn't want to, waste time. So let's do this. So we do offer many different options, both for our timeline and for comfort levels for individuals as well.
How do you compensate when you're interviewing somebody that's in person with you and has got these COVID protocols? They're wearing a mask. And I know we were just talking about, how you have to kind of smile through it and all, but people will still feel off their game. How do you know what is them just being confused by the whole situation we're going through versus the type of personality you're ultimately looking for?
Go ahead,
Laura. Go ahead.
No worries. We've been in our mask for a long time. We have our nice logoed mask here at the Henderson. So we're in the mask interviewing them as well. So I do believe that we have gotten better with our communicating with our eyes. And we do talk about it in our orientation groups in a way that we never did before, from the smiling and making sure you're smiling in your voice and your actions. And it's more about the body language than ever. From a service standpoint, but I think it's about the body language in your interview process as well. So they'll be comfortable because they see us doing exactly the same thing. And it starts at the door when they're getting their temperatures checked and everybody's getting their mask on, and they come into our environment knowing that's exactly how everybody else is going to look too. I do think it helps.
Right. Trish, anything to add to that?
Absolutely. It's making a little bit of it lighthearted just to make people more comfortable. Interviews are so stressful as it is. And like you're saying, throwing a mask on and makes people more uncomfortable. But it helps. We just kind of joke about it a little bit, just are we shaking hands, or how are we doing this? So I think it helps to make people more comfortable initially when they see you with the mask on as well.
Because that's got to be really awkward for somebody who's out of work and may have a sense of fear, right? That they don't know how to act in this new way, because all the rules have changed so much. So you try hard to make those people feel comfortable as much as they should try to feel comfortable on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we explain the process. We have a conversation about it with every interview that's in person. Would you like some water? You can take your mask off over there if you'd like a sip of water. We're all going to be wearing masks. We elbow. We don't shake hands. So just really, you have to over communicate a little bit. I think that's the key.
That is a good tip right there. But what about this? How should people follow up? Because a lot of times people they just don't know what to do. Is it too much? Is it too little? Should I just not say anything? Should I just, go eat a taco and pray for the best? I don't know what to do. Trish, what would you recommend?
Follow up is valuable. It's one thing to hound recruiters, but if it's been a few days and you haven't heard anything, pick up the phone or shoot over an email. Don't be afraid of that. I I don't mind getting the phone calls, and I think Laura and other recruiters can say the same thing. It shows a lot of initiative. It shows your comfort level with talking to people, because that is a big thing. The fact that you're even reaching out when it's so difficult for some reason, even with this market, as everyone's been talking about, to even get someone on the phone to schedule an interview for a job you applied for, please call. Shoot over an email just to make sure that we got your application, and in case we have any questions. So it's very important.
I know that the two of you will respond, but what if you're applying for a job and they don't get that feedback and they start to feel like, well, I've already emailed them and called them and they're not getting back to me? Then what? Based on your life experience, what would you think they should do? Trish?
Okay.
More of an answer, but
no, absolutely. They can absolutely reach out to us. Typically, it is our hiring managers who are on the front line. So for the individual departments, and here at our property, we also have our HR manager who's more hands-on with the applicant process.
Right.
Pick up the phone and call me. Email the HR directors individually at our properties if you're not getting a response. We do have so many different methods of communication now that you're going to get in contact with someone at some point. I think one of the most challenging things is you have to keep an eye on your email. You have to set up your voicemail. The number of people that don't have their voicemail set up when they're looking for a job. Yeah, makes it very difficult for us to contact you. Or, someone called me from there, but I'm not sure who it was. Did you listen to your voicemail? So make sure you're doing it on your side as well, so that we can reach you or contact you back.
Right. John Brigman's, his advice is keep reaching out until you get a no thanks. I think that
Absolutely
makes sense, because again, we're just talking about, if you don't get no for an answer, you haven't got no for an answer.
so true.
Right.
True.
I also like his advice of check spam, because you never know when that's going to happen. What about texting? Is that appropriate or not?
We typically don't. But we actually, and we are a little smaller from that standpoint. There's always going to be a human connection from our standpoint. So we would definitely prefer email or phone calls, because we're going to try to be on the front end of that. And they really shouldn't have to chase us to get a communication.
Right. Okay. But that isn't necessarily what you folks out there are going to experience with other companies. And I would say when you're tell me if this is a good piece of advice. When you're in an interview and you say, thank you very much, why not just say, how can I follow up? What is the best way for me to connect with you? Right.
Absolutely. It's, there's especially generational. It's interesting to see based on, I don't usually I avoid when I'm talking about different generations, but texting is much easier for a lot of individuals. So that's a wonderful follow-up, is just to ask them how they prefer to communicate. We do actually in our application process, how do you prefer to receive communications, if it's email or via phone? And there's a note section in there if you prefer to be receive a text. So we do have some of our hiring managers that are very comfortable with texting and will follow up with text messages, especially if they try to reach you and you don't have your voicemail set up. Right. They will follow up with a text as well. So it does happen.
That whole no voicemail thing is so interesting to me.
It happens way more than you think.
Yes.
You say it and it makes perfect sense, because my children, who I mentioned earlier in the show, are twins and they're about to turn 17. They don't ever listen to their voicemail. They don't pay attention to it. My mom complains all the time. They don't listen to their voicemails. Well, I think it's really a generational thing that we're starting to see there. The way that we connect with each other and the way that we communicate is changing. And the folks that don't have your voicemail set up, you have to kind of straddle between what other folks are doing and what you would prefer to do. It's not all about what your generational choice is. You have to kind of focus on other generations as well and how they like to communicate. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. And your pointer of asking how they would like the follow-up, perfect. Yeah. Absolutely perfect.
Excellent. I got a question here that we could all answer. Do you feel any of the companies will go for remote sales roles to combine roles and cover more properties? My gut, yes. For certain specific companies, that might not necessarily work with you guys, but maybe it does. How do you all see it?
We have done remote sales in the past, depending on the position. If they're doing different golf group sales and things along those lines, just because we are a golf resort, they're here, they're present. But there is that flexibility. I won't speak for all resorts, but going throughout time, we have had definitely some individuals who've worked remotely or have covered all properties or multiple properties. So that flexibility is there.
Absolutely is in that arena.
Okay, cool. All right. So one of the things that we like to talk about is how you could best present yourself. And one of the things that I'm concerned about at the luxury level is wardrobe. A lot of people that might not have had a job in a luxury hotel before might not have a lot of great clothes. So how could you best present yourself, not only in the interview, but if you're fortunate enough to get the job, what can you do? Can you help them with that? How does all of that necessarily work in your opinion? Lara, I see your smile, so I'm going to let you answer that.
Oh, sure. No worries. And actually this comes up in our world, and I believe probably in Trish's world as well, where, we do have people coming for on-site interviews and they've been called and say they're a little nervous. I haven't worked in a while. I'm not sure I have, an outfit that is, luxurious enough to come to your property. And our advice is always, do your best. Just please make sure you're presenting well with whatever you're wearing. Most of our positions are going to be uniformed. So we're not going to be telling many of our applicants, you came in tennis shoes and that's a problem. If it's a sales job, a salary job, obviously we're going to be talking a little differently. But we always encourage them to please know that we do provide the uniforms and that their current wardrobe is certainly not an issue. We just advise them to do their best.
Trish, let me follow up with that. Sure. Wear your best clothes, but my guess is how you wear those clothes and how you present yourself in those clothes.
Yes, absolutely. Lara and I were actually just talking about this earlier, and you touched on a really good point. Is your presentation is important. So if all you have, is a t-shirt and some jeans and some sneakers, and you need a job because you've had a rough go, especially given the past year, just communicate with us. We've had someone who's actually called before and said, look, it's been a rough year. This is all I have. That's fantastic. Thank you for communicating so that we know what to expect. And then in that interview process, just, communicating, listen, this is what the expected attire is. Can you present yourself this way? Do you have access to these things? And then, having a discussion if they can't. But just coming in and coming in with that smile behind that mask and being clean cut if you can do it, just come in with your Sunday best, as they would say, and we go from there.
Yeah. I think that's really important because a lot of people might feel shame about that. And it's, really great that you can relieve them of that stress. Dave?
No, I was just going to say, I think this is all really, really great advice. And I'm just trying to figure out why my camera's just turned off on me as you guys pulled me in. So, hospitality, you always got to think on the fly.
There you go.
Yeah. And when your equipment doesn't work, you got to just deal with it. He's totally gone now.
And now he's totally gone.
Right. So we're going to have Mark Alvin coming on in a couple of minutes. But when you're looking at things, are you looking at social media profiles? And if so, which ones, and how could people present themselves so you don't shake your head and go, wait, what were we thinking?
Lara?
From a standpoint of social media profiles, I do believe that our managers and our hiring managers stick strictly with, hopefully, the LinkedIn type professional profiles. It really isn't a good idea to look at somebody's personal social media in the interview process, because not exactly fair to them from a standpoint of application. So not something that I encourage our hiring managers to do.
Really?
But for professional networking, absolutely. LinkedIn profiles, that along those lines.
I'm starting to feel like years ago it was like everyone was like, no matter what you put on social media, it's going to be held against you. I'm starting to people aren't going to be focused on Facebook as much because they realize that's more personal, has a different set of rules than the LinkedIn ecosystem, which is much more professional. I think if you're saying ridiculous things on LinkedIn, that's much more
that would be a concern
than you being hanging out with your friends with pictures of drinks on Facebook, right?
Exactly.
Right. Excellent. Dave wants to add something. Dave?
Hey, it's actually working now. Sorry, guys, got booted there for a second. But I just want to say one thank you to both of you and obviously everybody else that's been on the show today and even the first show. But to everybody out there listening, I mean, I'm developing these shows, and as I'm going through it, not one of these people that have been on the shows has been hesitant. Everyone's been open and ready and excited to be on. So the point being with that is they're excited to talk to you. They're excited to want to hear from you. They're excited to be engaged with you. So use this as an advantage. Take advantage. Hey, I saw you on No Vacancies job fair. I thought you did great. Hey, I'm looking at this position. This is a great warm open to positions, to companies that you probably would not have been able to get in other ways. So if you're watching this, take advantage. Laura, Trish, you tell me if I'm wrong, but everybody that I've talked to has been so open to doing this across both shows. Go back and watch the first one. Get the details again of those managers. There's a lot of great connections that are now being made from these two shows.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. And I know we're very grateful to have this experience. Salamander, especially being, a smaller, not widely as known company. It's great to have this FaceTime, and we're very appreciative to have this opportunity with you. Thank you.
Tell us one more time how we could apply for jobs, Salamander, and your different companies, your different hotels. Trish?
Yeah, Trish.
Plug it.
So
reach out to you.
Absolutely. So definitely take a look at all of our properties on salamanderhotels.com. If you apply to individual jobs and you want some follow-up and you're not sure where to go, reach out to us. I will monitor personally here at Innisbrook, so hr@innisbrookresorts.com. We are thrilled to have this opportunity to have some FaceTime with all of you. So get on and apply and see what you're interested in. We'd love to have you be a part of the Salamander family.
Great. Laura?
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with Trish more. It is such a great opportunity for us to expand our platform and our audience. I'm in a smaller town in a smaller company, and people might not even think of Destin as a destination, much less even know of a Salamander resort here. And we have some really wonderful opportunities and some great properties. And a company that's growing and still young. I came up through Four Seasons Hotels many years ago, and I say that Salamander feels like Four Seasons did to me in the 80s.
Wow.
It's very entrepreneurial, and it's growing, and it's exciting, and it's a fun company to work for in an industry that is just unbeatable.
And
so I'm really happy to have the platform.
I think it's unbelievable that you were working at a Four Seasons in the 80s. There's no way.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Ray.
Really, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn.
Take care. All right. So as you're seeing, we've got lots of great jobs out here, but what about somebody who's struggling a little bit, hasn't had the opportunity to get that job yet? Somebody who might also be producing our show over here. Before we bring on Mark in a few minutes, I'd be curious to see what you're thinking about when you're watching the show as a potential job seeker out there who wants to get back into the hospitality. Not that he doesn't love producing this show, but maybe he has more things that he wants to do in his life.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, right? If this is coming up on close to a year now that this whole thing kind of started to fall apart for us. So it can be very frustrating to apply, and either get those auto-generated rejection letters or hear nothing back. And a lot of these applications have become very detailed, right? You go on. I mean, I'm sure people out there can agree. It's sometimes frustrating, a lot of times frustrating to go on, put your resume in, have to then fill out the same details, or even worse, have to correct the details that got auto-populated because they put in the wrong places. Take assessments, do all these different things. Sometimes this application process is 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you hear nothing back at all, or you get an auto rejection 24 hours later, and it's just kind of disheartening, right?
Yeah.
Large part of that reason is because in different markets. So I live in the New York area. It's very tough job-wise up here. Michael, I think it said Chicago is very tough.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of talent out there looking around. But again, using these connections that we're trying to establish today help you stand out. I mean, again, we heard from Chris Rutt a couple of weeks ago. Somebody reached out and applied for a job via the job fair, and he got all the way to the final interview at a corporate level position. Unfortunately, they felt the other candidate was a better fit. But the point being, and Chris said this to me, he said, that candidate probably would not have gotten that far if he didn't take this extra step. And he probably wouldn't even been called in the first place if he didn't take this extra step of reaching out to us. So you really use these connections. It may not go anywhere. It may not work this time, but again, it's a networking opportunity. It's an opportunity to develop a relationship now that may pay off a year or two from now. I mean, Glenn, you talk about it all the time, how you spent years just developing relationships to get to the point where you are now, and they're paying off now, even though that started 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, and even more so. Honestly, one story I always tell is back in the early 2000s, when my wife and I first moved in with each other. I moved during the fall of 2001. He's like, "Why are you going to these cocktail parties every night? You don't seem to ever get anything out of it. I don't understand." And I'm like, "It's not about today. It's about my career. It's about where am I going to be in 10, 15, now 20 years later." And because I put in all those hard work throughout the decades, and yes, it was hard work, those little tiny appetizers and drinking all those cocktails, because there was a lot of talk to it. There was a lot of connecting with people, and it's very exhausting. But now, 20 years later, if you guys are watching the show on a day-to-day basis, you see all the people that I know because I put the work into it. You can do it too. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about Dave. Yes, there's something special about Dave, but that's a different,
not much,
right? But you gotta put the work in if you want to get something.
Listen, I'll use a quick example, and again, we're going to bring Mark in one quick second. You heard how rapidly Sonesta is growing. You heard how rapidly Aimbridge is growing. We saw Resorts World Las Vegas has 6,000 positions they're hiring for. Salamander Hotels is a tremendous company that's only going to see growth. If you reach out to these people now, Derek may not have a job for you now, but a year from now, he may have a job.
Right.
Aimbridge may not have a job for you now, but when they get that next hotel that's right down the street from you, they're going to remember who you are. Brenda's going to know who you are, and she's going to help you. So I'm going to take off. Let Mark come in here.
Yeah. All right. Take care. All right. Let's bring on, probably with less whining and screaming than David and his 2-year-old, Mr. Mark Galvin. Man, it's so great to see you again, brother.
Hey, you know what? It's good to be here. Oh, wait. Alexa's talking. My kid's not, but Alexa is. Alexa, stop.
Real pain in the butt. But I got to tell you, I just discovered, Mark, that if I tell Alexa to add something to my shopping list, that it actually works. And now when I go to the Stop and Shop, I pull it up on my phone, and it's so much easier, and I actually get everything that I need to get.
I have not allowed – I just haven't allowed Alexa to actually buy things for me. I don't know. I'm a little freaked out about that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I totally get what you're coming. Somebody's saying, don't discount yourselves. I'm sorry your name is not appearing. We enjoyed having you at Red Lion Hotels at our national conference. Thank you. I will try not to discount myself at all in the future, but it's hard, Mark. What we do is we tend to not want to crow about who we are as people. A lot of us want to kind of keep that on the down low because we don't want to come off in the wrong way. And we're here to tell you about LinkedIn profiles. So how can we accurately make sure that we represent who ourselves are to people without cutting ourselves short like I've just been accused of?
Well, number one, be authentic, right? And I think a lot of people find themselves stuck in comparing themselves to you, Glenn Hausman. All right, I've just pulled up your LinkedIn profile. My gosh, look how he looks.
Right.
Listen, don't be Glenn, be you. Be yourself, and you can find that if you just express the things that you've done that make you great, you're going to find yourself very attractive to a lot of employers. If you're looking for a job, or if you have a job, you're trying to get a promotion, you gotta be yourself. And you're going to find that once you start that, you'll find your stride. I'll tell you what, Glenn, the bigger thing I find a lot of people run into is they struggle with boasting. Most people are going to say boasting. I'm not going to call it boasting. I'm going to call it
when we say something positive about ourselves, it comes off to us internally as boasting.
100%.
It might just be delivering information to you.
Right. And there are some people who are good at it, right? And I do think that we compare ourselves to those folks who are always sharing great quality content about themselves. But I would urge everyone to think about the things that they're great at. And you know what they are, right? You know what, everybody pats you on the back and say, you're great at this. Well, take those great things and share content that shows that you're great at those great things. Here, I'll give you an example. So my team has said, Mark, you got to do more video. And I tell people all the time, Glenn, I tell them, you got to do more video. now we're trying to incorporate more of that because I've got all these ideas about social media. Like, here's an example. Did you know that 80% of Facebook users are outside the US? Okay.
Yeah,
what is that?
There's over 1 billion of them, right?
So many, right? So great. Glenn, everybody's saying, hey, there ought to be censorship on Facebook because of blah, 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 whatever reasons, right? Pick your side.
Right.
Well, something that ought to be censored in the US may not need to be censored someplace else.
Right.
So how do you manage that? I think that's really a fascinating topic. And so we talk about those sorts of things on our social media channels. Why? Because it's our bailiwick. So what I want everybody to do is think about what are you great at and talk about it. Talk about it on your and there's some key areas that everybody should optimize on their profiles. And I can go through this. I can even share my screen. You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, man. Hey, hold on a second. I got to get it over here.
That. While you're bringing that up, John Brinkman says there's a fine line between being confident and pompous, and that's absolutely right. And I find that a lot of people that come off as pompous have some sort of insecurity about them, and they're trying to cover up for that by exaggerating with the way that they talk and communicate what they've managed to achieve in life. So let's bring that in.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Pomposity is a style, and I will guarantee you, if you're not pompous, you're not going to come across pompous on your profile. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of who you are, and if you're a pompous in general, then you're going to. Oh, here's my favorite example. I got one. Oh my God, Glenn, you're just gonna love this. So one of my favorite places that I go to is photofeeler.com. This is a place you can drop your photo, your profile photo, and you can see if it is what people think of it. Okay, do you know this guy?
He looks kind of familiar. All right, so he comes up confident, not very likable, and I think it nailed it.
So it was funny when Anthony shared this picture with me. I told him, I said, Anthony, I'm just going to tell you, you're not going to perform well because I can't see your eyes.
Right.
You're not looking at the camera, not being friendly. I mean, he is such a friendly guy. He loves people. This is not conveying it.
It's not him.
It's not
the Anthony that I know, but that's TV persona Anthony.
Yes. Oh, spot on. You know why he told me he liked it? He likes the pocket square.
Right.
It's perfect.
But turn that into if so-and-so was trying to get a job. The pocket square might be perfect, but that's not getting you over the finish line for the job.
That's exactly right. So I'll give you another example. So this gentleman, Robert, and I did some work together. Look at this guy. He's looking at the camera. He's focused on it. You can see his face well. He's friendly. Look at his numbers. Much, much higher.
Right.
Both of these photographs got 40 votes of random people that land on a profile and say they look competent, they look likable, they look influential. Just first impressions. The point is, if you want to come across genuine, you will, just by not only your profile pictures, by what you post. And we've all seen this. We've all seen it a number of ways on our own profiles, on our own feeds. But this is what I'd like for all of you to do. I want you to remember the rule where you are sharing 80% of quality content and gives you 20% of content where you can ask for something or you can sell something. So here's an example.
Hold on. Make sure you go to Amazon.com right now and buy the adapters. The new book I collaborated on. Sorry, I had to take my chance for my 20%. Go for it.
So I was totally lost there. I don't mind telling you.
I know.
Like, what just happened?
I know.
I love that. Rock on. So what I want all of you to think about is when you're sharing content and you're sharing the 80-20 rule, which means 4 posts you give away content, 1 post you can sell. You plug this into your feed. What happens is people get used to you giving away content more often than you're asking for something. Mm-hmm. So here, as an example, if you look through my feed, my goal is to share just quality content. So here we talk about Facebook this morning. We did another show. So you've been a guest on my show, Glenn. So here we talk about some other content. Here's another podcast. We have a lot of stuff where we're just sharing content that is not about selling. I just love videos with dogs and kids.
How could you not love that? That's just
I'm mesmerized. I just sat that. But do remember this. This is something important when you look at your content that you're sharing to your feed. If you like something that is politically related, you're going to alienate part of your audience. So I liked this post or commented on this post. It pushed it to my feed. So do remember, if you're liking a political post, it's going to push it to your feed. So here's an example. Cambria Hotels, they opened up, they have a new hotel that opened. I like that post. It pushes it to my feed.
Right.
I am not asking for anybody to buy something. I'm not trying to push something. I'm just sharing who I am. And all of you can do this. The places that you see a difference is when you're on a feed and they're always talking about themselves.
Right.
Don't be that person.
Right. That makes a whole lot of sense, Mark. I recommend, now this is just me, don't have anything to do with politics on LinkedIn at all. There are other places that you could get that going on, Facebook, your Parlor, whatever it is that you want to do. But I think that you need to stay away from that. And I'll tell you, I've seen people do some stuff on LinkedIn. I don't think it's the appropriate venue, and it's affected how I feel about them.
I think this is I'm glad you're mentioning this. Here's why. If I'm on LinkedIn, I don't care if somebody wants to spend money with me and they disagree with me. I'll take their money, right? If somebody wants to hire me and I don't agree with their politics, as long as they're not going to ask me to do something illegal, immoral, or I don't know, what's the third one?
Yeah, well, you make a great concierge because that's the answer I get for them.
That's right. But the point is there are people that you can still work with and you may disagree with their politics.
Right.
Let's not push them, keep them from hiring you. Because here's the deal. If I land on your profile, Glenn, and I'm looking at doing business with you and you share politics that I may disagree with, I may not overtly think this, but I may push you to the back of the list. It's not worth doing it. So I encourage you to avoid politics, sex, or religion in your LinkedIn feed, unless you're in the business of politics, sex, or religion.
Right.
So otherwise, if you're in those businesses, go for it. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, it'd be really weird if you're in one of those businesses and didn't discuss it at all. So that would be the only exception to it. But for people wanting to be productive in the hospitality industry or build a career, that is not going to help you. I see 0.
100%. Absolutely not. We accommodate everybody in the hospitality business. That's our job. We are interested in accommodating as many people as possible. Let's make sure that we don't preclude ourselves from accommodating them. Now, here's something I want to mention. I want to give you guys some tips. Number one, this headline, LinkedIn's going to tell you. So I'm totally shifting gears. Can I shift gears, Glenn?
Shift away, my friend.
All right. So if this headline on your profile shows your title and company, you're doing what LinkedIn told you. Congratulations. But don't do that. And the reason you don't want to do that is because this is the most important line for search in LinkedIn. I'll give you guys an example. So I'm going to go new tab here. I'm going to do another search here. Come on. There we go. New tab. So Glenn, I used to be a hotel salesperson. Did you know that?
No, but I found out that you knew friend of the show, Del Ross. And
Del and I are good friends. Absolutely.
That's what I heard. I'm like, I totally get it because you guys both have that same kind of rockin' vibe about you.
Oh, I was worried you were going to hold it against me.
But I'll save that for off air.
So in the hotel biz, if I'm a salesperson and you're working at a convention hotel, right? Meeting planners are probably pretty important, wouldn't you say? Right?
Yep.
Pretty big deal. All right. I'm going to go search meeting planners. I'm going to focus on people, not companies. Notice what's happening here. Mm-hmm. This person in their headline are the words meeting planner. Look down here. Meeting planner. It's a simple example. Shows you how important the search terms in your headline are. Now, also note, this is a second level connection. These are not my first level connections. LinkedIn assumes if you're looking for a title that you're looking for somebody that's not already in your network. If you want first level connections, like you're trying to remember that person's name, come over here and click first, okay? And then you'll get first level connections. But you get the gist. All these people have the word meeting planner right in their headline.
Right.
So what word should I have in my headline? The words that someone's going to use to find you. All right, Glenn, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, sir.
I've decided that I need a keynote speaker at my convention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to search for that person. And what words am I going to use to find you?
I hope that I have where it's I say event speaker right after the first comma, that would be helpful.
So if I go event speaker, notice what's happening. I'm getting, this is interesting. This is really interesting. No one, and I'm in my first level connections. I'm going to reset all my filters, go back into people. So you can see, there we go. Event speaker management, novelist and event speaker. Okay. I'm going to call Gerald.
Right.
So why, and simple example, I notice we're in second levels. So I bet if I went first level connections.
I'm fourth on that.
Did you, oh, you, you were on the screen?
There, hiding at the bottom.
Right there. So Glenn is leveraging this, and all of you should understand this. Also, Glenn, I would urge you to add,
yes, sir.
Keynote.
Yeah, I chose event speaker because I thought Keynote limited it, because I also do moderating and hosting and all of that kind of stuff. And I really thought about it, and I had trouble finding the exact words that wouldn't be too many words, but still connoted the messaging I wanted to put out there.
Good stuff. You have 220 characters here. So you can add those characters on the bottom 2 lines, because nobody's going to read those 2 lines.
Right.
The top 2 lines, we're all lazy. We're going to read the first 2 lines and then we're going to move on. It's just a lot of data, but you can add those other lines in there and it's not going to hurt your brand.
Right.
Right. So you can build those in there. People look for me. I'm a social media trainer. I love to talk about LinkedIn and train people on LinkedIn. Social media is up here. Trainers down here. It works.
Right.
Somebody could look for LinkedIn trainer. It works. So you kind of piece it together. Get those words, those keywords in your headline. Now, folks, if you're looking for a job, you need to make sure you put the words on what you do in your headline. And that's what we're doing here today. Let's figure out how you can get a job, because if I am searching for you and I'm looking for a convention service manager and I'm a recruiter, I'm going to type those words in. You want to make sure that you're going to show up as someone that I could call. So what are those words? Get those words into your headline.
And why do 2 people there don't have a picture? Is that a weird LinkedIn thing, or do people just not have their photo on there?
I can't answer that, except I can tell you this. This person here may have their security settings set so that I can't see their picture unless I'm connected.
Right.
Or closer to them. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, you and like this person, this woman, it may not want her photo either. Totally cool. I get that. But you bring up a point. If I'm looking for a job, I may turn that feature off. I may want to share my photo because it will help me get a job, and then kick it back off after I get a position.
Right.
So you can always make that change. So that's a big deal. The last thing I want to mention is this profile picture is a big deal. It needs to be current. I need to be able to see your eyes. Glenn, I love your picture on your profile.
Thanks.
But I can't see your eyes.
Yeah, I'm a little squint.
You and I have the same problem. When I smile, I get happy. My eyes get really small.
Right. Yeah. I know. I definitely a little squinty when I smile. I don't know. I can't help it. I look weird.
I will tell you, I love this picture though. So I typically tell people you need to make sure that I can see your eyes. I like this picture a lot. I feel like it connotes my essence, right? It shows what dude. I said no politics, sex, or religion. You're going to essence.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. You can go there. Hey, I'm gonna put me on back screen. I'm a little embarrassed.
You're right. Too funny. John Brinkman has been asking me, and I'm sorry, John, that we haven't gotten to this. He asked earlier. He wants us to talk a little bit about lighting on here in this virtual environment. So what I have here is I have lights overhead, and I have 2 big LED lights that shine against this green screen, not directly on my face, but kind of on the side. I'll show you guys what I have over here. So there's a light there. I can't get it to go the other way, I don't think. Hold on, there's a light over there as well. So you can see I've got a regular office over here, but I've created a studio area where I could control the environment and put forth the image that I want to do. If you look back at our shows from March, April, May type of time frame, not only did I look a mess, but the whole setup was a mess before I did this. So what recommendations do you have, Mark, to appear the best that you possibly can? Because we're hearing a lot about virtual interviews today.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to show you guys. You just saw that light go off.
Yep.
So I have a light that I bought. I bought this from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the base. Oh, here we go. So the little base sits on my desk, right? And I can modify the color. I can modify the light. But I use it as a desk lamp in the afternoons. And then when I'm on a video, I turn it so that it's facing me. So it'll be behind the camera. So I've got a camera here that's facing me. This is a great solution because you dropped some money on your lighting.
I did.
And you should, because you're doing because of the show you're doing.
Right.
These types of lamps are a much better solution. And I think it's $30. And even after you finish, you can use these as a lamp on your desk. So here we go. I'm going to plug this thing back in.
Right. And so people know what we're talking about here, the lights that I had was a pack of 3, and those cost like $350 or something like that. But they're LEDs and they're portable. And assuming I'm allowed to do shoots again around the world, I can take those with me as well. So for me, because of my situation, it was a worthwhile investment, but it might not be for you.
Yeah. And if you're doing video, if you're doing a video interview, you really do need good light. And I'll tell you, I normally undo this one. So this light does give you enough light in front of your face that you're well lit enough, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get into an interview and have some sort of bright light coming in behind you where your face gets dark, because the camera can't figure that out. These little lamps do that. And I will tell you, I'll drop this in the chat box. I'll go find it on Amazon, and I can put that in there for those of you that are interested.
Yeah, please. Could you do that? Because we already got a question. Someone here is saying, "Link, sorry, you're jumping.
I just can't move fast enough."
I know. I also want to talk while we're talking about presenting yourself. So, I have a green screen here. I painted my wall back here.
Did you really?
Yeah. So instead of having a screen where I have to worry about it, I used to have a green screen, but when I decided to do the studio thing, I put in the green screen here because I thought it was essential to get rid of all of the issues that I might have. And when we're talking about those issues, I specifically mean the wrinkles and stuff. And if you have a wrinkled green screen, if it's not pulled taut, the image may not look as great, and that could be distracting for people.
So, Glenn, I've got can I turn mine off?
Yes, if you go to cam.
I got to go down. There we go.
Yeah.
So I've got a cloth behind me, and that's where my Costco stuff is stored.
Right.
And if you guys would see all of my extra toilet paper, and I don't want you to know that I have extra toilet paper.
Yeah.
So I drop that back there, and I'm able to do some branding that'll go with it too. Because since we do our own show, that's how I can do it. And I can change that up based on whatever we're doing.
That's right.
$30, $35.
Yeah, it's great. And then, I could just do, and then magically appear somewhere else.
No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. I'm going to my orders. I'm searching lamp. All right. So I can multitask here while I search there. You want to, I'd like to talk about the about section.
Yes, please.
Can we do that?
It's about.
Am I still share that part of that screen with you?
Nope. There it is. It's up again.
All right. And I have found the product here. So Glenn, I'm going to drop this in the private chat.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. All right. So about section. Yes. This is, so Glenn, can I be critical?
I don't know if my feelings will get hurt or not, but we're going to find out, right? Well, hold on. Start by saying, I just put something down that I thought made sense.
This is good.
You're the professional. You understand how this works. I'm coming at it from the point of view, I don't know what I don't know.
Well,
maybe I got it right. Maybe I nailed it. Maybe I got a 0 on this test. I have
no grading here. I think you're going, number one, how many of you have this section on your screen? It is so important because LinkedIn now has made your profile your personal website. Because when you land on a company's website, what do you look for? You look for the About section. It tells you about the company. Well, now you land on LinkedIn. That's what's here. One of the things that you want to do here is remember your audience is self-centered. So when I land on Glenn's profile and I see the first word of his About section is I. Well, Glenn, I like you a lot. You're a good guy. I don't want to read about you, right? I'm all about me. And so when I land on your profile and I see I'm like, do I want to read about him? Maybe I don't. I move on.
But are we supposed to be talking about me, being that it's about me?
Yes.
So how do I do that without it seeming like it's about me, but trick the person into thinking it's more about their experience?
I want you to think about your audience. Who is your audience that lands on your profile that you want to speak to? Who is that? Give me an example.
I would like to appeal towards people that might hire me for a speaking gig, a consulting gig, might advertise on this show, might be someone that wants to watch this show, someone that wants to be educated, empowered, and hopefully entertained.
So I want you to speak to those people. You can't speak to all of them. I hate to tell you. You can't. You got to pick one of them or two of them.
I have, Mark, is I have too many things going on, and there's a lack of focus that could come off confusing.
So and I will tell you, I struggle with the same thing because I got a lot of different folks that I'm interested in. So what I do is I'm going to talk about LinkedIn users because that's who I'm currently targeting. But we do social media management for companies and the like. And I want to talk to all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to my audience first. Oh, David has just sent me a note. He's done this. Let me go to David because he's a good example. So what we want to do is we want to speak to your target audience and really reel them in. So during my time in hospitality, all right, hey, David, this is good, but I want you to focus on your target audience and speak to their pain points. So,
hey, Dave, why don't you come on and join this part of the conversation so you could defend yourself or whatever you feel you need to do. Anyway, continue.
So what I'd like to do, and Glenn, think about this too, since you're here, and that is that if you think of your target audience and you were to say what your target audience's pain point was, you're going to reel them in. So for example, your target audience is and I'm running back over to your profile. I don't want to lose. Here we go. So let's say it's an event owner. For example, and that event owner is looking to find an engaging speaker for their events.
Yes.
Right. And you could say event owners need to have an engaging MC to keep their audience engaged.
Right.
There's your first line. Second line, when I want you to say in the second line, what it would feel like to have that person, right? So when an event owner has that person engaged or on the stage, they are going to their audience is going to be more engaged. They're going to come back to more conferences and they'll see more value in it. Third line, you're that person. And that's where you say, I fulfill that for these ways.
Right. Okay. I get it. And I made a mark on the piece of paper here to go back and take all of those ideas and incorporate them. So next time, hopefully you could praise me.
That's right. Exactly. So here's the mission here.
Yes, sir.
Is you appeal to your audience first and you engage them and you speak to them first, and then they're going to listen to you. Now, David, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Hey, Mark, always good to see you, my friend. So, yeah, the reason I was saying take a look at mine is because you and Glenn are in different positions than most people listening to this, right? You guys are having your own business. You're attacking it from a different perspective. But someone like myself and most people that are watching this are attacking it from our target audience being a hiring manager or a general manager or a recruiter. So how does someone like myself design this about page properly?
Good. What I want you to think about is this: who's the hiring person for you? What job?
This very second, right now, nobody. But
No. I mean, when you go to apply, who's the person that is going to decide whether you work there?
Well, again, as we saw today, depends on the company, but it's possibly a headhunter, possibly a general recruiting manager in the corporate office.
Good. So you got to think about all this. So decide who that is. And I would say if it is, and I'm going to focus on revenue. Do you mind if we do that? It may not be where you want to go, but let's do that. So if it's revenue management, you want to speak to that revenue management person, right? Director of revenue management, VP of revenue management, VP of marketing, or sales and marketing, depending on where that falls. And so I would try to pick the one that makes the most sense to you and speak broad terms. Essentially this, I would come in, your first line, I would say something like a revenue manager, the director of revenue management needs a team that can always, analyze revenue and raise it year over year. Once that director of revenue has said person in place, they'll get promoted. The company's going to do better. Revenues will increase. Third sentence is, I'm that person. That's where you get into, during my time in hospitality, I've done X, Y, Z. So the first line is, what's the pain point? Second sentence is what it feels like to solve that pain point. And the third one is how you solve it. So speak to the person that's doing the hiring. I can give you another example. Let's go in sales. Let's say that you're a salesperson and you're trying to get the director of marketing to hire you. You would say, one of the biggest, and I can speak to this because I get it better than the revenue side. A director of marketing is always trying to find salespeople that are motivated, that are focused, and that understand the industry, let's say. Next line is, when they find that person, they meet their goals, they're going to see higher bonuses, and they're going to find that the hotel's more successful. More people are working. The last sentence is, I'm that person because blah, blah, blah. Here's what we're trying to do, guys. We want people to read it. Too many times we just immediately talk about I and people just move past it.
Right.
So I'm trying to let's engage, because this is the about section is your number one part of your profile. That is your rack card, your brochure. It's where you really get to breathe life into your own profile, and it's going to set you apart from other people. And you want them to click see more. So the first three sentences appear here. And if you're going to get them to click see more, you got to connect with them. And that's what I recommend that you do.
Wow. Great advice. Dave, any other thoughts about that?
I mean, this is really great advice, as Glenn just said, and obviously ties very well into this episode. So anybody out there that's listening that is planning to apply for any of the jobs or any of the companies on this show or the previous jobs fair, make sure you're taking this advice. And also, Mark has some great group seminars where he kind of goes over your individual profile, which you can talk about in a second. But, Anthony has said it in the past in this show, if you're not taking advantage of Mark's services and Mark's expertise, you're missing out. I mean, he said it numerous times on this show, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, Mark has helped me with my profile. Looks like I have some more work to do as well. But it's
never over.
But it's such an important thing. It's such an important tool for networking, for job prospects, for anything that you're doing out there from the business world. And again, Mark will talk about what he offers in a second, but it's such an amazing tool, LinkedIn itself, and Mark can really help you optimize it.
David, I thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I want to give you a shout out for your headline. This is phenomenal. Notice all the words that you've got there. You've got revenue manager, you have hotel operations. If I'm searching for anyone with any of these talents, you're going to show up in my search. I love that.
And who helped me build that?
I think he's a good guy out of Atlanta.
No, but I know just a true story. I mean, I can tell you.
Talk about you.
I was going to say, Mark, after Mark helped me optimize my profile, I can tell you, my views have gone up. My searches have gone up. I've seen a drastic increase. Of course, part of that's working with Glenn and Anthony and getting my name out there in other ways, but it was almost like an instantaneous turnaround in terms of my profile activity.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that.
You got a great.
I like your photo too, by the way. Great.
We got a question here from Curtis. How do you feel about writing an about section in the first person versus the third person? I've seen bios in LinkedIn written both ways. What's the preferable way to do it?
So it depends on your audience. So you got to go back to think who's hiring you. If you are coming out of college, let's say, and you're early in your career, you better be in first person. But if you're a C-suite level executive, you're a VP level, you're going for a VP level, you better be in third person, because your audience is going to be, they're going to accept you more on that third person level because it shows status. It shows that you have probably had somebody else write it for you. So it depends on who you're speaking to. In that case, like for example, on mine, I'm in third person. And the reason is we're walking into the C-level suite to try to attract their social media management, or we're managing the entire C-suite. So we do that a lot. We go into companies, we clean up the entire C-suite's profiles.
Oh, cool.
To speak to that executive level team, I need to be in third person.
Right.
So think about your audience, and then you can help them.
Right. That is really fantastic advice. Okay. So Mark, before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, how you're empowering people to be more successful, and the type of stuff that you're offering. If anyone has earned a shameless plug on this show, it is you, sir.
Rock on. Well, first of all, I always love being on here with you. I think you know that. Yeah. Anytime you give me a chance, I jump at it. So especially when you start talking about your essence, the next time you bring that up, just warn me, okay?
All right. Consider this a standing warning.
So I dropped this in the wrong chat box. I
got it for you.
All right, man. So I just dropped a link in. Actually, thank God, my trusty assistant here, Glenn.
Right.
By the way, not my trusty assistant, but Glenn's going to help me out there.
Anything get him coming through with this one.
Awesome. That's right. If you click on that link, it'll take you to our website where you can book a 1-hour session. It's the session's only $37.50, and in 1 hour, I'm going to go through your profile like we did with David, except we're going to go through all the key things on your profile. In the end of that hour, you will have most of your profile done. If you don't find it worth your time, I'm going to pay you $20 and refund your $37.50. Wow. I know it's that worth it. So join us. You're going to find that hour's worth your time. I typically only have 6 people a session. That's what we try to keep it. We cap it at 10. I've seen just 6 people a session on average. So you're going to get individual attention. Love for you to join us there. But the other side of the coin is I do speaking, public speaking. I do webinars all day long. And we do a full service social media agency behind us where we manage everything from soup to nuts. We've got a hotel company that we're working with right now where we are managing each of their individual properties. So we do it all. But right now we're really focused on trying to help people get jobs because it's such an important part for our industry.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you had such breadth to your offering. So I'm so glad that you saved that. All right, now you've been doing so great. John's got another question. What's the best free camera software that allows green screen projection?
Well, so I would encourage you to buy a Logitech camera if you can. And Logitech has an app called hold on, wait for it. It's coming. Logitech Capture. I like Logitech Capture a lot. You can get into something that's a lot more sophisticated, like XSplit is a good one, but I would not go that route unless you've got a laptop or a PC that's got a video card because it absorbs too much space. So Logitech Capture is a great way to go, and it will give you a chance to use that green screen.
Right now, I, of course, am using a totally different mechanism to talk to everybody here today, but I think the camera is really very important as well.
Extremely important.
I'm using something called a Razer Keo, and it's got 4K capabilities, but you guys are watching it in 1080 is what I have it set today because StreamYard, which we use here, does not yet do 4K, but I want to be prepared for 4K and only do the expense once. This was not a super expensive camera. So it's well worth the investment to get a great camera because you don't want to have low resolution because then all of a sudden you're putting yourself behind with something that's not going to be fixable with great lighting or a good green screen.
Great point. Also, I think an important to mention to Mr. Brinkman's question is sound is more important than video.
Right.
So all of you could deal with Glenn and I freezing up a second, but you're not going to deal well with not being able to hear us. So as long as you can hear the audio, you're going to be okay with that.
Right. Make sure you have that taken care of. It is so essential. Don't put a little effort into it. You don't want to sound echoey. You got to show that you care. It doesn't have to be perfect. But again, I believe, Mark, it's more of you're giving them nonverbal cues that you care, that you're putting effort in, and that shows through in a job interview as well.
Well, you know what? In the hospitality business, we always know that our first impression counts, and perception's reality. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that in the hospitality space. So if you can show up in a video setting and there's not a question whether they can hear you or they can see you, you are going to leave an impression that it could probably get you the job.
Right.
So if you got to spend a little money on a microphone and a good camera and some lighting, I would do it. I recommend that you would do it. And I don't think this whole process is going to go away. I think we're going to continue these video conferences forever now that we're used to them.
We are. And I think it's a great way of communicating with people. I prefer to do this now, Mark, than do regular phone calls for any business that I do. I just think it's more intimate and breaks down barriers between people. This microphone, $99. So we're not talking that you have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on good equipment that sounds good and helps you make a good impression.
Right.
Mark, thank you so much. I think this has been absolutely incredible.
Glenn, love spending the time with you. Let's stay in touch, my friend.
Great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of you out there. I can't believe we've been on the air for over 2 hours already. What an engaging conversation we got to have with so many people that want to hire you. That's right. All you have to do is hit up all of those companies. They will respond to your emails. Real people are on the other side of this. This is not just something that's going to disappear into the ether. Every one of our guests promised that they would get back to you. So please, please apply for those jobs. Drop us a line over here at No Vacancy News and our show, No Vacancy Live, for anything that you need. Speaking of No Vacancy News, check out our website, novacancynews.com. And listen, we've got a special offer right now for me. It has nothing to do with you. I need 5 more subscriptions on YouTube. Just 5 more right now. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel on No Vacancy News. You'll make me very happy, boy. And if you feel like making me even happier, get the book, The Adapters, How to Travel, Tourism, and Hospitality is Adapting and Innovating to Connect the World. All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow with the incredible Scott Sabella, president of Resorts World Vegas. And on Wednesday, we're going to get a little sneak peek on what Anthony is up to. And on Thursday, we've got the president of Hilton Americas. We're giving you jobs and we're getting the greatest people on the show. Man, I'm so happy to be a part of this. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, you only got one life, so blaze on, and as any